Hi, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson, and I am coming to you from a holler way up in eastern Kentucky, okay? Near the West Virginia border, near the Virginia border in Hatfield, McCoy feud country. And if you're familiar with that area, you know it's a beautiful place. There's a lot going on here, especially if you're into ATVs and trail riding and stuff like that. They're all over the place in Appalachia, especially around here. The Hatfield McCoy feud stuff. I mean, it's everywhere. Mingo County, West Virginia, and Logan County, West Virginia, Pike County, Kentucky, Martin County, Kentucky. It's all over the place. But it's good because the coal industry is no longer the big money building enterprise that it once was. Mostly because a lot of the coal's been taken out of the ground already, and the rest of it is we're breathing it in, or we did growing up. Anyway, so we have a lot to talk about today. Again, for the past 3 episodes, one I did early this morning, the one I did at noon, and the one I'm doing now, I'm going to be talking about primarily two major topics. One is Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, told Charlie Kirk on a program at the Turning Point USA event that was held last week. He said that he's now got all the woke garbage out of the military and that he's going to be focusing on, promotions based on merit, colorblindness, and all of those kind of things. But when we know for a fact that none of those are true, and he also said it was going to be promotions based on, just merit, not sex or anything like that. But Vice Admiral Davies, who is the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy, is going to be replaced by a Marine general, which is fine. I don't care that he's a Marine general. I'm glad that he is a graduate of the Naval Academy. I think 91 or something, but 1991. So I'm glad for that. That's good. But see, Vice Admiral Davies' term was not up, and she had been there since when was it? January of 24. Not very long at all. I hadn't completed the term. So it begs the question as to why Hegseth wanted a general there, a Marine general there, male, white. Well, if you know anything at all about Pete Hegseth, you know that he's a Christian nationalist and they don't believe women ought to be in positions of authority over men ever, period. That's just Christian nationalism. They believe they ought to be in the bedroom, making babies, and in the kitchen cooking the bacon. Charlie Kirk said something like that earlier today whenever he was talking about women who are going on social media and being scantily clad and all this kind of stuff, that they should not do those kind of things. And my reply back to him was, it's none of your business, Charlie boy, with an I. And get your Christian nationalism out of my life. You're badgering me with it. But anyway, so Pete Hegseth is doing this. He's using DEI. Well, he's actually going after anything that goes contrary to his Christian nationalist faith. He actually brought in the pastor who is the organizer for this particular brand of Christian nationalism, Doug Wilson, for the prayer session that they're having there, for the Christian prayer session. I haven't seen anything about Jews, Muslims, or Hindu or anyone else, just Christian nationalists. And Pete's always the one leading it, and always the one initiating it. And not only that, everybody shows up. But when the boss says you're having a meeting, he'd love to have you there. Well, that's the power dynamics of being the boss. People go because for several reasons. One, they may believe these things. That's fine if they do. They're entitled to believe it. But the second part is they go there because this person has an impact on your career. That may be unspoken. It may be subconscious. But that's the motivation for some people to go there. And that's what drives these things, to have people show up for them because the boss called the meeting and it's open to anyone. So if you want to be seen and heard and you want the boss to see you and get your name down, you go to these things, whether you really want to be there or not. So That's not the worst thing he did, though. On a Charlie Kirk program with Turning Point USA, he called my friends garbage. And I don't know about you, but that just is disgusting. The people he was talking about were the recently fired transgender service members, like highly qualified and awarded and promoted space scientist and a fighter pilot, commander, Navy, captain in the Coast Guard, Army captains and different majors and Marine Corps officers. These people knew their work and they were meritoriously advanced until Hegseth came along and imposed his ideology on the whole of the department. He talks about meritocracy that he wants to promote based on that, but you know darn well that these people who were promoted because of their merit and their worth and their knowledge and their skill and training and their leadership abilities, they were promoted for those things. Hegseth wouldn't stand a chance against them. He's the most unqualified person I've ever seen to be Secretary of Defense, but he's gaining experience rapidly. Isn't he ever? But his whole goal is nothing about warfighter ethos. He talks about it, he wrote a book about it and all that kind of crap, but it's just not true. He wants to impose his Christian nationalist views on the Department of Defense. No government agency should ever be used to promote one religious view over another. And I'm not just talking about Christian over a Muslim or Christian over Jewish or Christian over Hindu or Buddhist. No, I'm talking about Christian differences. There are 45,000, at least 45,000 different recognized Christian denominations in the world. And I know what they'll say, but mine is the only one that's right. Oh, grow up. And how are they going to pick, if it's a Muslim program, how are they going to pick out of the 150 different versions of that exists around the world? And the multiple different versions of the Vedic-based religions from India. How are you going to do that? You can't. The thing is, don't promote any one. And you're saying he didn't promote it? Yes, he did. Just by the fact that he is the boss is a promotion of it. Once a month, prayer things in the DOD, in the Pentagon. And then he turns around and calls my friends garbage. That's the most un-Christ-like thing I've ever seen. It doesn't fit any of the red letters. How about you? Do you think it does? Do you think whatever he says actually is fitting in the red letter section of the New Testament? No. They go back into the Old Testament and pull up crap and leave the rest of it in there because, they say that part's all right. We're not going to fool with that part. We know that's just an allegory, but this part over here is, we'll go with that one. I know how they work, folks. I used to work for one for 6.5 years. I even was into it and believed it. I worked for Kenneth Copeland down in Texas for 6.5 years. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Been there, done that. I know what motivates these people is power. What motivates these people is they believe that they have a right and God-given responsibility to lead the nation, but not in any ordinary sense. They have it like this. Here's the Christian nationalist and all the beliefs that are associated with that. And then underneath it is the government of the people. And then underneath that are the people. But they have the final say on everything. Does that remind you of any particular thing around the world, another type of government in the world right now? There's several. Like the Ayatollah is a religious leader in Iran. They've got president. They've got whatever you call their Congress or whatever. You've got those things there. But the Ayatollah can override any of it. Whatever they decide to do, if he doesn't like it, he gets to override it. That's what Christian nationalists want here in this country. That is exactly what Matt Walsh is bold enough and honest enough about himself to tell you he is a theocratic fascist, and he says that up front on his little bio on X, on Twitter. He says it. It's there. It's plain to read. But the rest of you out there, if you're listening in, you don't have the guts that Matt does. At least he's honest with himself and us to let us know exactly how he feels about it. We know who he is. He tells us. And if you think that we want to allow that kind of thinking to run our country, well, unfortunately, we are in one of those reset periods right now where they do have the power to do it. And the rest of you who aren't as extreme as they are, well, you need to get your head out of your behind and out of the sand, because these people don't care what you think. They have a set agenda. And Doug Wilson, the Christian nationalist whose work Hegseth follows, who moved his family to Tennessee to be a part of a church down there that he had basically founded or set up, or whatever you want to call that thing. I don't know. They have a word for that. So we've got that going on, folks. And then Hegseth calls my friends garbage, woke garbage, kicks them out. So we finally got it all out of the military. I'm so disgusted with that. These people are some of the best human beings you will ever see in the world and ever work with or do participate with or any kind of thing or engage with. They are good people. When somebody uses words like garbage to describe good people, then I think they're probably looking in the mirror. That's what I think about it. They're looking in the darn mirror. Secretary Collins of the VA last week said this, paraphrase slightly, in a video clip from the VA, said, transgender veterans who have been receiving care for gender dysphoria since or before March 25th of 2025 will continue to receive medically appropriate care. And then use the next sentence to say, any new people coming into the VA system, new people coming out of the military, like the ones I was just talking about that Hegseth calls garbage, any of these new people coming in and they have gender dysphoria and they are going to enroll in the VA healthcare system, then he's not going to give them that healthcare. It's medically necessary here, and he admits it. But over here, he doesn't give a hoot about it. That's hypocrisy at the extreme. But this is not about that, is it? It's not about that. Never has been about that. They are trying to impose their form of religious stupidity on the rest of us. That just pisses me off. It really does. So Collins stepped in it again. That is for sure. Stepped in it again. This time in a video clip. And they're probably going to take the thing down. I don't know if he will or not. I can't tell you that. But I'm going to tell you, this really, really gets under my skin. You've got Hegseth says one thing, calls trans people garbage. And you've got Collins saying on one hand that it's medically appropriate care for the VA to continue treating veterans who have gender dysphoria. And then on the other hand, it says, but if you're newly enrolled and you have gender dysphoria, we're not going to care for you. Where's the rational connect between all of that? The consistency in thinking? Where is it? It's not there. It's not there, folks. That's just not who they are. Okay, next one on my little list right here I wanted to talk about was Waters on manhood. That's talking about Jesse Waters and his definition of being a man. Doesn't know how to change a tire. Don't think he ever has. Or he might have. I don't know. He just says that he doesn't know how to change a tire. He just said that this evening on the show. Wouldn't know how to do that. But men don't drink out of straws. That's what he says. I have one somewhere around here for my little cup, but I don't see it right now. So anyway, that's what he was saying. And then, he didn't say that this evening, but he said it at other times. And he repeats it periodically. It comes back up. So let me see. Men don't drink out of straws. They don't cross their legs. They don't make s'mores in the oven. They make them out on a fire at the grill pit or wherever. You know, you make them out there. But don't you dare make it in the oven. Makes you less of a man. Well, Jesse, I tell you what, all your focus on all of that kind of stuff is really infantile. Really is. No one gets to define what makes a man except the man himself. You define you. Leave the rest of these people alone out there. And you certainly don't have a voice in defining what a woman is either, because you don't know. You wouldn't know how to find a, well, no, I'm not going to go there. I started to. Oh, goodness. And then Charlie Kirk also comes along and goes on some post he made today about women. And I think I mentioned that earlier, but, you know, he's talking about scantily clad women over on social media posts, just putting themselves all out there. Well, that's none of your business, Charlie. I know that you also are a Christian nationalist, that you think you have a right to tell women how to behave and act, that as if you're the arbiter of everything that is the way women should act. And I dare say that you're also in agreement with Pete and Jesse Waters about what manhood is. And in all those cases, I can only see one thing. Y'all need to look in the mirror because you still got your braces on. Have a good weekend, everyone. See you later.